The opening scene of Apocalypse is a good example of what you can achieve editorially that is not based on the original script. There were some collisions of images that occurred to Francis as he was shooting the film that were at variance with how he had planned to begin the film originally.
The trees being napalmed was originally shot for the surfing scene, which comes much later in the film.
There was a shot of jungle bursting into slow-motion flames with helicopters flying at odd angles in slow motion through the frame. And when Francis saw that shot in dailies, which was, I think, simply done to record this explosion, it wasn't intended to use it in the finished film. But he looked at it and said, that's the film right there, this jungle, flames, helicopters.
The Martin Sheen character was one that was shaped very significantly in the editing room. The film itself was shot with the idea that there would be a narrative glue to hold the film together. What exactly that glue was and who the character of the narrator really was really not shaped until well into the post-production process.
Willard punches the mirror, blood comes out of his hand. All of this is really happening. That's real blood. That's Marty Sheen. None of that was intended to happen. That was just Francis saying, Marty, let's shoot an improvisation with you trapped in your room and what is going to happen.
I think as we worked on the film, we realized that the film itself was in its own strange way a kind of modern opera. And the reality of dealing just in the beginning with the Martin Sheen character was not sufficient to give the audience not only the emotional state with which to enter the film, but the visual iconography of the film itself.
Going through the dailies of the film, I collected a number of images of the Cambodian heads, burning images from the end, and worked them in through a series of multi-level dissolves with the burning napalm and the helicopters flying through, and then images of Willard's room and Willard asleep, and he's trapped in this nightmare. You have been hearing helicopter sounds, and now you see this ceiling fan, and what you're hearing is the whap, 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 whap sound of a helicopter. Is that coming from his dream? Is it a reality? Is somehow that sound coming from the fan? I remember when I was assembling those images, almost jumping away from the editing machine when I put that sound with that image, because it seemed to me that that fan was making that sound, even though I knew it was impossible. And if it was convincing me who was doing it, it surely would convince others. Now they begin to coalesce, and they turn into a real helicopter coming from a fan. No. And then you hear a real helicopter fly over the room. Willard gets up out of bed, goes over to the window, and says,
Saigon. Shit.
All of that, the narration and the helicopter flying over and the napalm jungle, is concocted into something that is a powerful beginning to a film, not only powerful in and of itself, but powerful in the way that it sets the stage for the journey that this particular film is going to